Hello and welcome to Delta, Teledyne FLIR's video series for our thermal camera drones. I'm Kelly Brodbeck, Product Manager for our SIRAS commercial drone. You can learn more about SIRAS at FLIR.com/SIRAS and more from our Delta video series at FLIR.com/Delta. Today I'm going to take you through the process of setting up and turning on and flying for the first time your new SIRAS drone. All drones are a little bit different, and there are some things I want you to know about your SIRAS so it makes that whole process much easier. The first thing is the airframe itself. You'll pull it out of the soft pack and it'll look something like this. The arms fold into the soft pack, so you'll need to unlock them. And there's little latches here on the side. You never want to force the latches. In fact, you never want to force anything on SIRAS. It all clicks together, it all makes sense. If you find yourself forcing something, it's probably because something's not aligned, or you're putting the wrong battery in the wrong slot, etc., etc. So just be careful as you unfold it. It's that quick and that easy, and these little latches move nicely. Your SIRAS will come with these little foam attachments to hold the props in place. If you lose them, just go to your dealer, they have lots of them. It makes putting the SIRAS in and out of the soft pack, or the hard case, which is now available as well, makes it much easier. So just pull them off and set them to the side. The next thing we want to do is attach the payload. The payload will be in the soft pack in this cube. Just pull it out. Simply squeeze the little arms on the side of the payload, align it, and snap it on. There's more detail on how to do that in the user manual. Next, we want to insert the batteries. SIRAS flies with two batteries, a top and a bottom, and you can tell which is which by looking at the shape of the gasket on the side. This is all detailed in the user manual. You'll want to align the battery tabs with the latches that are on the side of the SIRAS. Slide it right into place, lock the latches, and you're ready to go. All right, we're ready to fly SIRAS. So the first thing to do is turn it on. The power button is right here in the front, and to turn on SIRAS, it's a single press of that button. You'll notice a sound, and red LED lights, and then blue and green lights that will start to illuminate on the back. What all these lights mean, again, is explained in the user manual. You want to turn the airframe on first, and then turn on the ground control station. It will light up with a series of blue lights. Now the two of them are going to talk to each other for a few seconds and pair. So this is the process of the airframe and the controller starting to talk to each other and pair. This will take about a minute to go through the full sequence. Let's go outside and fly SIRAS and see what this really looks like out in a real-world situation. And we'll dig into some of the camera features and adjustments and things that you can do to make your pictures the best that they can be. Once you have the ground control station connected to the drone, you'll see this screen, and that green Go Fly button will be illuminated. Go ahead and press that, and that'll bring up the camera. I'm going to show you all kinds of things, but let's get SIRAS in the air first. SIRAS has a lot of thrust and goes up very, very quickly. And I'm just going to put it up downrange a little bit. You can see it's sort of evening time. We're near the Pacific Ocean. I've had a lot of questions about yawing SIRAS and people having a little bit of difficulty getting the sticks to do exactly what they want them to do. It just takes practice. The sensitivity of the sticks can be adjusted, and I'll show you how to do that. Let's just pull in a nice picture of the ocean here. You can see that it's easy to get whatever angle that you want. So we're looking just downrange. Nice little scene. Okay, so the first thing I'd like to review with you is what's along the upper top bar of the ground control station display screen. You can see the satellite icon with a little beam coming out of it and the number 26. That's saying that it's connected to 26 satellites. Keep in mind, there's two things with the satellites. One is the number that you're connected to, but also the quality of the signal. So you might have CIRAS say you're connected to 15 satellites, which is great, but it may not let you take off until the quality improves, and that sometimes can take a couple minutes, particularly if you're in a brand new location in a new state and the particular unit hasn't flown before. Just on that first time, give it a little extra time, and the GPS will get connected with a great quality signal. Next to the satellite, you see two green SD card icons. That's saying that the ground control station and the drone both have their SD cards. If there was an issue with the GPS connection, next to the SD cards, there would be a red symbol that says GPS with a little line through it. Moving along the top of the controller, right now I took off in position mode on the main controller, the buttons and levers. There's an A, a P, and an S, so I'm in P. If I were to move it to S, that green box that you see at the top, GPS, would remain illuminated, because in both position and sport mode, your GPS locked. Really the difference between those two modes is the speed with which you can fly. 18 miles an hour maximum in position, 38 in sport. If I were to put it into attitude mode, we'd get this warning. Do you want to proceed? Yes, I do. And so now I'm in attitude mode. You can see the drone is starting to drift. That ATT is now displayed on the display screen. I just went ahead and put it back into position mode. I get a nice GPS lock and everything is well controlled. As we move along the top bar, we can see a symbol for the quality of the transmission between the ground control station and the drone. 86% charge on the ground control station. I'm going to go ahead. You can't see what I'm doing with my fingers on the screen, but I'm swiping down a couple of times. Keep swiping. Here you can adjust the brightness of the screen. And if I turn that down, that greatly extends the lifetime or the battery charge of the GCS. So you can run up to 8 hours if you have the brightness turned down to about 20 or 30%. If you have the option to work in a shady space and you have to run for more than 3 hours, which is what you get when the brightness is turned up all the way, you can turn down the brightness and get an extended life out of the charge on the GCS. So GCS is charged to 85%. The two batteries, top and bottom, are both at 87%. I want to bring CIRAS back a little bit. So I want to show you some of the image characteristics of CIRAS. I'm bringing it down right now, and one thing to note is that CIRAS has a very controlled descent. So if you have it full down, full throttle down, if you will, it's not going to take any other commands. But if you give it a partial down, you can do other things like fly forward. So you get that diagonal vector back home, which is what I'm doing here. Just coming back, and I'm going to zero it in on where I am, underneath this tree here. Let me just zero that up. Okay, so here we have the camera controls, and right now I have it in visible. If I press the T for thermal, it'll go over to the thermal, and you can see there I am with my partner here, and we're waving our arms, so you can see us under the tree. If it's in T and you hold down the V as well, then you'll get the split screen. There it is there, and that's a convenient tool. Let me go back to visible. We're very excited, of course, about the MSX technology, which will put edges and lines around things. So it's combining the visible and the thermal in a way. So you just press the M button, and that'll bring up MSX. And you can see my arm is highlighted even more because I've got the edge from the visible that's being imposed on the thermal. It just gives you a clearer and more interesting image. So that's where you find MSX. You see this little arrow here on the main screen. That brings up a variety of camera controls. You see the green icon that looks like a still camera, and next to it is a video camera. So that's how you switch between a still camera and video. Let's go back to the still. Now we have a couple modes with the still camera, and one of them is HD, which I'll press here. Why do we have two modes? The HD mode is for basically taking pictures, high quality, high resolution pictures. And you want to use this when you're zooming. It's cinematography, basically. Here, I'll come out into the light. Here I am. How's it going? If you fly, particularly in sport mode, with the HD on, that's a lot of information that you're sending to the processor of SIRAS. So you'll get a pixelated image. So if you're flying particularly rapidly, turn off the HD and fly to where you want to be. But then when you're ready to take pictures or video and you're more in a hovering mode, that's when you would turn the HD on. You'll see that with the HD off, you can only go up to 64x zoom. But with the HD on, you can get up to 128x. Takes a second there to switch from one mode to the other. There's various other adjustments here on the bar that we're working with, like the exposure variation, etc. Read the user manual and it'll explain all those things. Let me show you a few other interesting tricks. So when we're in thermal mode, we have a whole bunch of adjustments. So here's the spot meter for radiometry. And you can see I've got it on a hot piece of ground there in the 80s. If I move it up into the tree, it's cooler down in the 60s. So that's your spot meter. Underneath the white icon on the right here, which is what you activate to take video or a still picture, you'll see the gear and the circular arrow. Read the user manual for what these do, but they basically get you into the more sophisticated radiometric modes for SIRAS. So region of interest, isotherms, that sort of thing. Various emissivity adjustments, and it's more for your thermographer pilot, those icons there. You can see this little easel here. I'll just light it up. I'm going to turn off the spot meter. And that easel is supposed to be like a paint easel, will bring up your color palette. So a lot of people like to fly in iron bow. What looks pretty cool. There's various palettes that you can choose from. The FFC is the flat field correction. SIRAS will do this automatically. You shouldn't have to do that. But again, if you're a level 2 or 3 thermographer, you might have a need to press the flat field correction. It's basically a calibration of the thermal camera more frequently. So you can do that there. You can see by hitting this little arrow on the far right, I can move that camera control stuff off the screen. So you get a full view of what you're recording. As I move down the display screen to the lower right corner, that's where your map will appear. Go to FLIR.com/SIRAS and download a map for your area. They're generally done state by state. Here, it's simply displaying the path that I've flown so far from the takeoff point. Along the bottom is your basic telemetry, so elevation, speed, distance from the controller, vertical speed, horizontal speed, etc., and a compass. Also down in this lower bar is a return to home calculator. This is really just advisory in nature, and it is not anything that's going to happen automatically. It's just saying, yeah, you got about 16 and a half minutes before you're going to need to return home based on the amount of batteries that are left. So if you're flying away from your location, it's good just to have that number there and say, hey, keep track of where you're at. Moving around the screen to the upper left, we have this icon, which I just lit up. And this allows you to orient the gimbal. So that points it straight down, and the middle one there will point it straight forward. This is always great to know, be able to center the camera so you know where you are and figure out where you want to be. Another icon up here that is of interest is the collision avoidance. This is a radar system. You can see I just turned it on. Speed is limited to 11 miles per hour. A semicircular pattern displays the basic zone that the collision avoidance is going to be looking out toward. All right, so now let's move to the upper right portion of our display screen, this 3-dot icon. I just tapped it, and 4 very important menus come up where you have a lot of control over your Siras. So safety is first, the maximum height that you can fly to. Right now it's set to 400 feet. If you look at the user manual, it will tell you how to extend that up to 3,300 feet. We want you to read the manual to not only learn how to do that, but get the cautions that we have in there around that. Really, for inspecting tall towers or wildland fires are the only types of situations where you'd want to fly to those sorts of elevations. You can do it with Siras. Here I have the return to home height set at 100. I just changed it to 255. I like it around 100 so that it can come back quickly. Siras is really good if and when it should ever disconnect. You know, if you're in a wide open space, we've had people in Texas fly it as far away as 5 miles, but people in urban environments get a much shorter distance just because of the electromagnetic interference. So it's possible that Siras will disconnect like all drones do. Here you can set what happens. So right here, I have a return to home. If it disconnects, it just turns around and starts coming back. We don't have flyaway incidents with Siras. It's very reliable in this regard. But we have a few options. So RTH plus OA means return to home plus obstacle avoidance. So if you have that set, it will fly slower and it will look for obstacles. I like just return to home, personal preference. You could also have it hover, or you can have it land. So those are nice choices to have. Here's information on your battery. Most important here is the temperature. So you can see we're around 100 degrees with 2 batteries. Siras can get up to 160, 170, no problem, particularly if you're flying on a hot day. But if you fly Siras and maybe for 10 minutes on a really hot day, say it's 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and then you come and land, and then you want to take off again a few minutes later, Siras is going to say, hey, you know, the batteries are starting off in a hot condition. I want to be closer to room temperature. So it's going to ask you to change out the batteries. And that's just a safety procedure. If you don't have a second set of batteries, just take the first set out, let them sit out in a cool place in a shade for 5 or 10 minutes. They'll cool down very quickly and you can go again. Or just hot swap the batteries. That's another option with Siras. Your battery alarms are here. They're defaulted to 25%, so it'll give it a warning at 25%. It'll do a return to home at 15%. You can change that. If you're returning to home and for any reason you need to override return to home, you just switch out of position mode to sport and then back to position, and it will cancel the return to home. Here you see the compass is normal, but if there was an issue, this is where you would calibrate the drone, calibrate the compass on the drone. We've all done the dance where you put it in various orientations and spin around a few times. That's what's going on there. Siras will prompt you on how to do that. And then it's just saying here that the remote ID is active and working and you're all legally compliant. The control menu has a variety of things you can do with the lights. Here we have the stick sensitivity settings, so the expo settings as they're known, units that the drone is reporting in, gimbal speed for the pan and tilt from slow to fast. I have them set at medium. And then down here at the very bottom, well, first you can see that there's a gimbal calibration. So if you're having issues with the gimbal, You can calibrate it there and it should crisp right up. You can put on the right wheel either camera zoom. Earlier I was just pushing a button on the main display screen. You can push camera zoom onto that wheel or leave it where I have it and have that be the pan for the gimbal. The camera gives you some grid lines that you can put on there and some basic other information. I'll let you read about that. And the About menu is where the most important thing here is where you can see the apps and the firmware that's been installed. As of today, in July of 2024, we have firmware 1.3, which are our latest and greatest firmware, all installed and ready to go. All right, so those are the basics. This is how you get SIRAS up in the air. From here, obviously, read the user manual. There's lots of information in there. Go slow as you're learning to fly it, but you'll find it's a very nice, very easy to fly, reliable drone that you're going to have a lot of fun with, and you're going to do a lot of great things in your professional life with it as well. Thank you for watching. I know this one was a little long, but hopefully that will give you all the information you need to get up, get flying, and get working with your SIRAS. We look forward to meeting you at our trade shows and various events. We look forward for you to receive more of our content, so please subscribe to our channel by clicking the link below. Thank you so much. We'll see you out there.